The cruise ship industry is booming, with numbers of passengers boarding at Australian ports likely to exceed 750,000 a year. The House of Representatives Legal Affairs Committee is investigating the issues surrounding crimes committed at sea. One focus is the progress made by the industry since the death of Dianne Brimble from a fatal overdose of a date rape drug while on board a P&O cruise ship in 2002.
The industry has learnt a lot due to the tragic death of Dianne Brimble. The industry has stepped up in terms of self-regulation, in terms of the responsible service of alcohol, so that there is a safe environment for all passengers.
New South Wales Police Assistant Commissioner Mark Hutchings told the inquiry there have been 27 serious incidents on board cruise ships leaving Sydney reported to police in the past 19 months, including 8 deaths from natural causes.
11 of those were assaults, all of which were notified, and 2 of these incidents resulted in police arresting the offender. One was a juvenile and the other was an adult. We've had one was charged with 5 offences, and those matters are still before the court, and they were fairly serious offences of bar staff on one of the cruise ships within New South Wales waters.
Yeah.
There have been 4 sexual assaults notified to the Marine Area Command. One resulted in a brief of evidence being compiled and referred to the AFP as the incident occurred beyond New South Wales jurisdictions.
Committee Chair Graham Perrott welcomed the New South Wales Police shedding some light on the extent of crime on board.
It would appear from the evidence and the statistics that we have that a cruise ship is different to a small town of 5,000 people in that it would tend to be a safer place, according to the evidence we've had. We also had contradictory evidence from the victims of cruise industries and some of their associations that suggested an atmosphere of cover-up, that suggested the cruise industry was focused on their glossy brochures rather than, and the appearance of safety rather than actual safety.
Representatives of 2 of the largest cruise lines in the world, Carnival and Royal Caribbean, also attended the inquiry. Royal Caribbean's head of security, Michael Giglia, told MPs that new laws passed in the United States in 2010 have led to all his security officers being trained in crime scene recording and evidence preservation.
But the Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act, federal law passed in the United States, sometimes known as the CARI Act, requires that all of our ships have at least one person certified in a very specific course in crime reporting and evidence preservation. That course is this course. It's known as the model course. This course, the syllabus, was produced by the United States Coast Guard, the United States Merchant Marine Academy, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So every one of our chief security officers and deputy security officers must complete this government-mandated course and be certified in order for a vessel to be allowed into United States ports. It's just a business decision, and I believe it's true of all the cruise lines. It's easier for us to train all of our security officers regardless of what port they're going to.
But we still have a lot of grey area and confusion when it comes to maritime law because, for example, if you're only 12 nautical miles offshore, you're within that state's jurisdiction. Beyond 12 nautical miles and 200 nautical miles, you are still in state jurisdiction but with a federal overlay. Beyond 200 nautical miles, of course, you're international waters. Now, depending on where the crime occurs, you may be state, you may be federal jurisdiction, or both. And this is something that we've been talking about today with our witnesses from all of the police agencies.
Cruise ship companies have improved passenger safety and other procedures in the 10 years since Dianne Brimble's death.
I think the events of 2002 were a wake-up call for the whole industry. And one of the things about this inquiry, it allows us to spell out fundamentally what's changed since then. So was it damaging? Of course. And would you ever want it repeated? Never. Really this is the opportunity for us to demonstrate and articulate exactly what's changed to make sure that's so.
From all of our evidence can see things are better than they were 10 years ago. So in fact, of course, Miss Brimble hasn't died in vain. But clearly we have an enormously growing cruising sector, perhaps 1 million, it was suggested in our evidence, 1 million Australians will have had a cruise ship experience in the next few years. We've just got to make sure that as an Australian citizen, even when you leave our waters and end up in the Mediterranean, you're protected and our policing can reach you without any jurisdictional issues.
And what I've been very keen to say is that in that decade, the industry has completely transformed. And on our ships, we have 600 CCTVs so that we're watching very clearly what goes on board the ships to make sure that if anything looks like it's developing, it can be dealt with very quickly.
She denies passengers are less safe on board their ships than when out in their own hometowns.
I think they're probably less vulnerable on the ships than they are anywhere else, actually, because we're monitoring what happens on the ships. We're very focused on making sure everyone has a great holiday and that safety and security is our number one mantra on board. So I would say that you're probably much more secure on board a ship than you are anywhere else.
How can we make sure victims of crime committed at sea have best protection, whether they're on a merchant ship travelling around Australia and an internationally recruited person, or if they're one of the hundreds of thousands of Australians now who take a cruise?
The incidents on board the ships are in fact extremely rare. I think one of the challenges when you come to an investigation like this or a parliamentary inquiry, it feels as though it's something that happens all the time. It's extremely rare.